Welcome dear students to the second lecture which is related with translator. Now we will see what is meant by a translator. When we write a computer program, we will either write it using a low level language or a high level language. But the problem is that computer does not understand either of these languages. It can only understand the machine code, that is zeros and ones. So we require a computer program which can convert or translate these instruction or source code into a machine code. Basically, there are three types of translators: compiler, interpreter, and a assembler. Assembler is used to translate a low level or assembly level coding into a machine code, whereas compiler and interpreters are used to translate a high level language coding into machine level. So we will see it one by one. Whenever you have written a code in a assembly language, you will need a assembler which will convert your code into machine code. When you will write your code in high level languages, either you can use a compiler or interpreter. It depends on different types of languages. Some languages use compilers, some languages use interpreter, and the language like Java which will use both compiler and interpreter. Now we will see what is the basic difference between compiler and a interpreter. Compiler is a program which converts an entire source code into an executable machine code, whereas interpreter will convert your code line by line. Compiler will take a large amount of time to analyze the source code, whereas compared with your interpreter, it will take the less amount of code for analyzing the code. So overall time of execution for compiler is faster and interpreter is slower. It will take less time for execution of code and compiler will take more time. Compiler generates the errors after scanning the whole program, whereas interpreter debugging, that is removing errors, is easier in interpreter. The compiler requires lots of memory as it will generate the object code. Comparatively, interpreter requires less memory because it does not generate a object code. Compiler is more secure than that of the interpreter, and the languages like C, C++, they will use compiler, whereas the languages like Python, Java, Perl, they will use the interpreter. That's all in today's lecture.